I am back na leo nataka tuongelee kama Afrika iko vizuri zaidi kukabiliana na AI kuliko nchi za majuu ama za West. Getting better at this. What I just try to say is today I wanted to talk about whether Africa is better positioned to handle AI compared to countries in the West or just other countries globally. So, but specifically the West. So let's get right into the topic. It is a beautiful, beautiful New York evening. It is 9:35 p.m. right now. And where do we start with this topic, right? First, I want to lay out that direct impacts. I believe that the Western countries will feel AI a lot more. And I'm going to explain why. But at the same time, there's various aspects of what AI will affect and how long term it could leave Africa behind if Africa doesn't catch up. But direct effects immediately, I believe the West will feel the ripples of AI a lot quicker. So, where do we start? Let's start with tech. I am an engineer, right? And I've been working in tech, I think, for 5 years. This year marked 5 years. And I believe just within the past year to 4 or 5 years, the value of being an engineer has just gone like downhill. It's just been tanking. Back in the day, if you told somebody you're an engineer, a software engineer, in their head they're probably thinking like, okay, dude has job security. What a flex. Now you tell somebody you're an engineer, and in their head they're just like, bro, are you even employed? Like, why are you out here talking to me? Shouldn't you be like behind your screen stressing? But that's the reality of the world we're living in. AI is going to first affect the white collar jobs, such as mine. So, for the past 5 years of being in tech, I've seen the the rise in automation. I've seen myself and my teammates work on different things within our company that would have gotten rid of jobs on some other department within the company, right? So I've been at the forefront of seeing this stuff come in, seeing AI being implemented, and now a department within the what's it called tech side of things is now gone and disappeared. One morning you have a bunch of teammates, and then you're chopped off and screwed. So if I'm correct, in early matter of fact, let's ask Chat. Let's ask Chat GPT. Yo, Chat. I sound like Kai Cenat right now. Yo, Chat. Yo, Chat. All right. Currently, in early 2025, across 130 tech companies, more than 61,000 tech jobs were eliminated, largely attributed to AI-driven automation and restructuring. What I literally just said. I was on an automation team. I was also on a DevOps team. So I got to see the inside, the inner workings of what engineers are using to get their jobs done. Um, I was handling queues at one point. So when an engineer has a problem and needs access to something, things would be routed to me, and I would either handle it or get it over to the right team. So I also saw even my position when I was handling queues get automated. At first, I was very valuable. Eventually, an AI could do what I could do very quickly. So that was just this year. 61,000 jobs in 2025. That's tech. And then a broader report later in 2025 tallied over 80,000 jobs. And I think if we're counting since 2022, nearly 165,000 jobs have been lost since then. So, a whole industry that used to be viewed as very reliable is going downhill. Now, a lot of those jobs are not in Africa, right? Remember, this is whether Africa is going to feel it more. When you hear of these 61,000 jobs, maybe a few thousand were lost in Kenya to AI, but it's not. Our economy doesn't rely as much on white collar office jobs as America does. So let's even go further. When I used to work in sales and other parts of the company, I saw how BS a lot of corporate America is. A lot of the jobs that people get hired onto and what they're told to handle is honestly daycare. It's daycare for grown adults, and then here's your measly $35,000, $30,000, right? And I say measly because that's not enough to survive in nowadays climate and what's it called, economy. So I saw the BS in corporate America when I was working in sales and in lower positions than the tech department. And now being in tech, thinking I'm secured, and seeing how quickly AI came in, and I was using AI to one, get my job done faster, but two, also automate tasks that would get rid of other people's jobs. So, on the aspect of jobs alone, and we're talking about, for example, I live in New York City. I believe the vacancy rate within Manhattan for office space is the highest that it's ever been ever since COVID. Ever since they sent us home and they told us, yo, go to your crib, buy a screen, buy a laptop, buy a headset, the real estate in Manhattan, straight down the drain. Straight down. So I'm seeing it here. Like I can look out and see empty buildings at night, no lights within them, just off. Maybe a few lights here and there to keep security. But overall, I've seen the effects of it directly within my company and tech department and all that. So, on the aspect of jobs, I believe Africa is going to be secure immediately and not feel direct like impacts where you're talking about. Let me actually see. Summary from 2022 to 2024, the tech sector lost over 500,000 jobs. Oh my gosh. And that's since the boom of the generative AI sector. By 2030, up to 300 million jobs globally will be lost across all sectors, not just tech. That's insane. 300 million? America has, I think, 350 something million people. That's insane. That's a whole America of jobs gone. Okay. Now, let's go further. People sell this narrative of, oh, AI is going to be the end all be all. It's like Africa's done for. At this point, like if Africa doesn't hop on AI, we're going to be so far behind. The world is going to leave us behind. Like there's no catching up. And I'm like, skirt. Let's pause. Let's look at the reality of how Africa has gotten to where it is right now, right? And let's start, like, for example, when I look out there, there's a Brooklyn Bridge. I can't see it right now, but I know it's there. It's one of my favorite places in New York to hang out. That bridge, when was that bridge built? Let's search this up. The Brooklyn Bridge was built in 1869 and completed in 1883. So we're talking about the 18s. We're not even in the 19s right yet, right? So I went and asked Google. I was like, what was happening in Kenya between 1869 and 1883? This is when the Brooklyn Bridge is being built. And the reason it's being built is because Manhattan's growing. People need to move across the river and find cheaper housing. And Brooklyn is wide open. At that point, Brooklyn is fields and, well, closer to the Manhattan side, it's already developed. But the inside, where we are and all this, it was bushes and fields and all that. So just think about this. While Brooklyn Bridge is being built because of the expansion of New York, Kenya was experiencing a period of transition with growing European interests and continuation in the East African slave trade, although efforts to curb it were increasing. Yes, okay. And then the period essentially laid the groundwork for the more extensive European colonization that would follow, particularly after the British Conference in 1884 to 1885. So keep in mind, the Brooklyn Bridge finishes in 1883, and the Berlin Conference starts in 1884 to 1885. And that's where they're starting to talk about the scramble and all that, if I'm correct. Yeah, the Berlin Conference. That's where they divided Africa. So I'm like, somebody would have looked then and seen where Africa was and where America was and been like, yo, Africa's done for. There's no coming back. We're building bridges across canals and people over there are still living in huts. That's what you would have thought, right? But look at the reality of during that age. Because if I'm correct, After that came the roaring 20s of the 1920s. So towards the end of the 1800s, colonization is ramping up within Africa. America is still dealing with its own problems here, segregation, slavery, and all that, civil rights issues, and all that stuff is also sparking up. And then you fast forward to the roaring 20s, where, what's it called? Where America's like, this is post World War One, if I'm correct. What was happening? Mm-mm-mm-mm. Okay. The Roaring Twenties refers to a decade of significant social and cultural change economically and prosperity and technological advancements in the Western world, particularly the United States following World War One. So 1920. A lot of African countries did not even gain their independence until the 1960s. So this is good to understand the context of where Africa was during all of these ages. During colonization, while America is building bridges and more multi-story buildings, colonization is ramping up. During the 20s, after World War One, that's where we get into the industrial age, if I'm correct. The industrial age, everyone's going into factories and the world is industrializing. Africa missed out on that age as well. Okay? We got independence in the 1960s, along with many other African countries. So you would have looked at all of these stages and thought, like, there's no catching up. But in reality, the world that we live in today, w- I'm like, okay, we got to skip certain stages that other countries had to fail and stumble through. But now we get to enjoy the advancements of those ages. For example, we don't have to worry about maintaining bridges that were built in the 1860s and 80s. The bridges we get to build is with modern technology and modern stuff. So I'm like, okay, in one sense, yes, we missed out during that age. I'm not sitting here trying to ignore the effects of colonization and everything, but this is all to tie back into where we are with the AI age. I'm like, if we missed out during industrialization, but Africa still is building right now and everything, and AI is coming around, but our economies don't rely on the white collar sector and office jobs as much as America does. Could we be better positioned to take advantage of AI? Because I'm like, when you hear of all the jobs that are going to be lost within America, yes, jobs will be lost within Kenya and Africa and other countries as well. And I'm like, it's not going to be as many jobs. It's not going to impact our overall economies as much. So, to tie all this stuff in together, you can see within tech, over 500,000 jobs have been lost since I think 2022 and stuff. That might be globally or just America. In addition to that, you look at where America was in ages like the 1880s when they're building the Brooklyn Bridge, and Africa's just getting into colonization phase, and then the Roaring 20s where America grew most of its wealth and prosperity. Africa is still under colonial rule. We didn't get independence until the 60s, and then now you look at where we are, and AI is coming in, and the narrative is if Africa doesn't hop on board, we're so far behind. I'm not sitting here saying Africa shouldn't hop on board, but I also question how much will our future rely on AI? How much will it be integrated into everything that if we're not on board now and building chips and also building our own AIs, realistically, how far behind will we be left? You guys let me know in the comments. Um, I personally think that direct effects, America is going to feel those first, but then later on down the line, as we continue developing, if we aren't also implementing our own AIs, where we don't have to outsource everything to chat GPTs and American owned and Western owned AIs, we will be left behind. And I'm talking about in areas like research, medicine, what's it called, energy, all those sectors. We can build using AI. And that's another thing. We're not maintaining cities that were built 100, 200 years ago. The way we build our modern cities now, because Africa is less developed, we can use AI to build the most efficient cities, build the most efficient networks of you name it, A, B, C, D, all that. I don't want to rant, but you guys get the point. Let me know in the comment section um, whether we're on the same page or you think that truly AI is going to leave Africa behind. I personally think that for the next few years, America and the Western world will feel the direct shocks more, but those should be years where we're catching up and ramping up within our AI sectors back in Africa. That is the end of this video. I don't think I have anything else. Oh, please don't fall. I will see you all on the next video, and let me know in the comment section whether you think America and the Western world is better positioned to handle AI or Africa is better positioned because of how much we don't rely on because of how much our economies don't rely on these white collar jobs that will be lost due to AI and a bunch of other factors. I love you all, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye.